Hey guys, Lee Hendricks here. Welcome to my channel, Lee Hendricks Gold. Some of you recognize what's behind me there. I'm back in Davidson County. I just talked to my cousin-in-law, Mike. It was good to see him again. I hadn't seen him in person in a while, and had a little discussion, but he's telling me this part of the creek has an old, kind of like a bridge that was built in the 1800s that's collapsed, and there's a lot of rock. And that caused a little catch area. He's found some Indian points, I think, in that area, or little chips, and maybe it caught some gold too. So either way, if I find, an artifact or some gold, I'll be happy. And even if I don't, I'm outside staying cool in the creek. So I'll keep you posted. You guys remember my good friend Christian Honaker fabricated that out of a longer piece that was at the shop, and I gotta get this rolled back down over this bank side. We've got poison ivy right there. I definitely don't want to touch it. It's pretty much in the way. If I get that, it just tears me up. Yeah, man, I don't like all that poison ivy that's here. That right there is definitely poison ivy. That's poison ivy. That's poison ivy. So it's all through here. A big crop of it. And that's part of the reason I didn't bring Oakley today. I was afraid she'd get into it, and while it won't bother her, it'll get all over me if I pet her. But I'm going to roll this thing on down here. Hopefully the poison ivy juice will stay off the metal. We can wash it off in the creek, right? We'll find out. There's poison ivy. Not quite as thick. Touchdown. All right. One hurdle overcome. I'm gonna get the dredge down there. doesn't seem to be all that sharp. I don't think it'll cut the suction tube, but I think I'll put something on the bottom of it just to protect a little bit. Alright guys, I'm getting ready to crank this up, and I don't think I've ever showed you exactly how I prime this. In the early days I had quite a bit of trouble getting this primed and running, but it's not that hard once you learn, you know, what to do and what not to do. First of all, you don't want your high pressure tube like this to be down where when you're priming it, it just keeps flowing around, because you'll never, this needs to be like stopped up to here, full of water. And so the best way to do that is to hold it up while you're pumping water into the foot pump, which is this right here. And one thing about these sandy, silty creeks is these foot pumps can suck up that small grit through here, and it can get into your impeller ports where it'll stop that up and you'll lose suction. So what I'm going to do is put this inside there. Got a rock to kind of weight it down. That way it won't just be sitting in sand, sucking up sand. But, that's why I'm doing that. And you'll notice I don't have the suction tube hooked up yet. This is where it goes in. As long as this stays underwater, that's fine, and it's a lot easier to get this thing running, water coming out through the sluice without hooking up the suction tube, because it has to pull all that water through there and get going for it to start working. So what I'm going to do first is just get some water running to you. This has got a flap that only goes one way, so the water can go in, but it can't come back out. But you do have to keep this underwater once you get it running. But I think somebody was saying, don't ever bring this out of the water, but until it's running, it doesn't matter. And it's running. And this valve too lets off a little air. It's a little easier to prime. See, that's all the way down. I'll leave it a little bit open. Lets that air bleed off when you get water. Tighten that back up now. I've got water up to here, so I know it'll start. All I gotta do is get it motor running, which is on the opposite side for me. I might need to choke it a little bit. got suction already, got water flowing, and it's already sucking up silty dirt. I'm gonna rev it up pretty good so I can move this stuff pretty quick. We had to punch holes in this thing because it sucks the water out so fast. I'm catching the bigger rocks and looking at them because I'm looking for things that don't belong. That's about as deep as that Caisson will go, I think, unless I stand on it and jump up and down, which I have been doing. If you go down on this side more than this side. Well, I'm packing it up, and I've cleaned out my sluice box. I've actually panned down most of the blondes and down to the heavies. This is interesting black sand because it's kind of silvery, the heavier stuff. But there's gold. You can see that one little piece right there, and I'm sure there's several others locked in this, so I'm not going to pan it down too much. I'm going to take it home and run it through a fine gold recovery system. So we'll see what's in this, and I'll give you the results. These are all Native American points that Mike has found in this creek and in this area. In fact, where I was dredging, he found several of these nice points. Check out the very tip of this one right here. It's amazing that it survived the creek.
These all came out of the creek too.
So these all came out of the creek as well, and this is one he showed me a picture. It was sticking out of the creek wall. There's a picture on his phone of it. It was just sticking out of the wall of the creek, so that's it. It's pretty neat. So we were kind of looking for something like that today, but I found some gold instead, which is nice. There wasn't much gold, but it was fun to get back here and see Mike again and talk to him. And I love seeing these arrowheads. They're cool. But unfortunately, I've got to go mow the yard, so my time playing today is over. And I might show you guys some little pieces of gold I ferret out of that, the cons that I take home, and I'll show you that right now. Let's see what's in this little bit of cons from cousin-in-law Mike's. Got a bit of a glare. Got a spoon here. That's working real good. Yeah, I can see all the silver black sand
I guess you call it silver sand, right? Now this mat actually is designed for catching golden beach sands, and it doesn't do too great on catching bigger pieces of gold, but it does have another screen down here and a tray that catches the big pieces. You basically have to pan that out, but keeps you from losing anything. Of course, I'm letting it all fall into a plastic bucket anyway. See that piece of lead or whatever it is, it'll slide. Because this mat is made to catch small pieces of gold, not big pieces. That's not gold. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe a piece of lead. You can see little itty bitty pieces of gold. That's zoomed in all the way, and now you can see my phone's not catching it, but you can barely make out a bunch of little golden pieces on the mat. So right there is your piece of gold, and the silver looking stuff is actually looks like shards of quartz. Like I said, it reflects light and looks silver in the pan. But that's a piece of gold I can actually see with the magnifying glass pretty easy. So I'm going to try to find something that I can't even see with a magnifying glass. Let's see. There's one very small piece of gold. There's a piece of gold. Look at that one. That is super small. I have to actually get the light just right to be able to see it. It's right there. See if I can turn down the light and catch it a little better. To get the light just right to see it. Good. That's probably about the best I'm going to be able to do right there. That's pretty good, but that is very teeny tiny. You see how it's one of the last things to disappear off the screen? Well, guys, that wraps up the Itty Bitty Gold Show. Though this episode was more about looking for Native American artifacts, I still found a little gold, and that's always a good thing. But I want to thank cousin-in-law Mike for bringing those artifacts down so that we could all see those. That's pretty cool, especially considering all those came out of that same section of creek there. Those weren't just from all over North Carolina. That was right in that same creek. So that's a lot of artifacts, and that just shows you what's laying around on the bottom of creeks if you know how to get to it. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and will join me again for the next one. See you then.